Welcome everyone to this Cortado Cuppa Coffee Podcast with me, your host Tom Dillon. This has been recorded live at our Tin Pot mobile studio and broadcast around the world. Um, uh, we've been joined by a few guests. A few Cortados gone out. This will probably be the last one. I'm not sure what order I'm going to put them out in. But we're joined for a mini share by the wonderful Antth Gaskill, who's been on a couple of times before. Always a pleasure to have him on. Who's got an interesting, zany left wing and right wing view on what's going on in the news, media, and sport. And so it's a pleasure to get his kind of a different voice on what's going on, and often thoughts on. I think it might be today as well, but I'm getting ahead of it here. That it might be thoughts on the future and sort of how to deal with an uncertain future, and whether that's it or not. I always really enjoy listening to him. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Antth. How are you?
Morning, Tom. Thanks for having us on. I must say, I am actually a Cortado fan. That's my coffee of choice. So it's a good matchup. What I thought I'd chat about is sort of segueing in between life and property, about how seasons are really important. And over the last sort of couple of years, I've been trying to I'm progressing to living my year in a more seasonal approach, so you've got fallow points and you naturally allow yourself to take, the next quarter I'm just going to reflect. I'm just going to wrap up what I've been doing. I'm then going to prep myself up for another phase. I'm going to then have a phase where I'm really chasing after a goal, and then you're going to mop it up. And I find that really good. But and I guess alongside that journey, a lot in society has come more. People are talking about moon phases, pagan lifestyle. There's all sorts of sort of drifted into the social media psyche, and but in general, in the Western world, seasons is almost a bit of an Achilles heel. Everything is pushed like we can work 24/7 at one pace, endlessly productive the whole year. And it really doesn't, it's not sustainable. And so as people go through their property journey, they'll naturally have a phase where they're chasing the first deal, like Elaine was on about, and that iceberg of work that goes into finding the deal, making it actually happen and learning the lessons, and then how she's excellently rolled on to sort of the third stage on there and now doing a sort of development. And Julie was chatting about also planning and how she's guided through. And they're different seasons of your journey. Um, and I myself had done a period where I'd gone heck for leather, working, building funds, buying properties. Fortunately, they pretty much all worked out well. And I've always been a big fan of having a 5-year plan and looking, but a lot of that was more about income and doing a particular goal in a year. And over the time frame that we've gone through, government policy has gradually changed in the UK. And some of the other Cortados have chatted about the difficulty with planning and all the rules and the complexities. And it's certainly, on some level, the UK was quite easy to do property. And over the last probably 10 years, there's brought ever more regulation, checks, and made it difficult. And as everyone looks at the climate and what the big challenge in the UK government is chasing is net zero, and what they see as balancing up renters' rights and meeting demands for housing. A lot of the goalposts have moved since I first bought into property and first started setting it up. So it's really over this sort of winter season, which has been a bit of downtime, I've been spending time considering in a lot more deeper depth how I want my next 5 years to look and how my portfolio is. And I'd always been of the mindset, almost rigorously, that I bought and I held. It was a bit Warren Buffett style, you know what I mean? You buy, it ticks your boxes, and if you bought it right, you tick it on hold. And I've really not wanted to sell. And over this this little season where I've been reviewing the government policies and where things are being pushed, and energy performance, corporatization, and things like this, and what's being rolled out, I've kind of gone, actually, I need to really consolidate my portfolio a little bit geographical, a little bit where the work may be. And that's led me to where I'm going through my first sale, and I'm probably teeing up another property to sell as well. Maybe that's probably going to be in a couple of years, because there are some strategic points that I am aware that are going to happen that will boost its value. So I'm going to, it does well now, but it isn't something I want in 5 years' time. And I've been able to take that step back and analyze that and go, well, actually, a strategic point is after this thing that's going to happen in the local area, which will elevate the house prices. So it works well. It rents easily. I'll keep it until that point, and around then I will. I've got a clear marker in about 2 to 3 years that I'll review, and I will probably move it and get a good uplift. Whereas a different property, I've gone, actually, there's a lot of risk here with potential changes that I would need to do. It's beautiful Victorian property. It's been rented to families, no voids for 15 odd years now. Really nice, but the due to the area in the northeast, the rents aren't keeping up with inflation. There's going to be a lot of work that would be very costly to get it up to a level C. I don't think would be economical in general. So I've had to, in that seasonal review, for the first time, it's a little bit of a learning going through. I'm having to chat to a nice family that have been there 8 years about, okay, I'm going to sell that property. Really, we're going to work with you, but there's going to be a time frame over the next sort of 2 to 4 months. That property will be moving, and you're going to have to find a new home. And you've got to bring in the empathy side on top of, as Elaine talked about, the numbers are vital, and knowing where they are. But at the end of the day, we do provide homes for people, and that in itself, I probably pondered for about an hour of, how am I going to say this to the people? What am I going to say? Running through what I was going to say, so I could try and say it in the nicest possible way, spend a bit of time with them. And I'm going to see them in person next week when I go up there, get some valuers and get them in and move that forward, who's going to actually sell it for me. But there is the two sides of that seasonal journey, of our journey. And as Howard linked to, it changes us, but we are also facilitating other people. We're providing a home where they've built a life, and they've changed and evolved in the property, and that it's a multifaceted journey property. But I think that seasonal approach to it is really vital, of understanding where you are in the season and looking at how you want those seasons to evolve, and that things are going to change as you get more visibility. So, yeah, my season at the moment has been doing a review to set up and set some strategic markers for the next point further down the line of my property journey. And I think the key thing is, as people are starting early on in the journey, they'll buy something, and your goals and markers in that 5-year plan at that point may be fine, but 5 years down the line, they will no doubt change as you get more experience, more visibility, and your own priorities change. And I think some of the seasonal aspect is allowing yourself to grow. And I think I was maybe too fixed at not wanting to sell some of the stuff I'd bought, and having to shake your own. I'm not trying to think the word. Your own concepts, really, because they will change.
Interesting stuff. Just touching on that, I guess I'm probably still in that mindset, which by the way isn't right. You know, I'm interested to hear your view, because it's different from mine, and try and learn from it and see if mine's wrong and it needs updating. But stuff I learned at the start of when I was starting out was, UK is a small island, not much land. In global terms, kind of crowded. We have a growing population, and governments that don't like building on green belts by and large. With those fundamentals in place, property prices are only going up. So, and I'm saying this on a devil's advocate sort of thing. So, with that, then long-term property prices tend to rise. So, once you've got them, it's a decent idea to hold on to them, especially when you sell them, you have to pay a lot of tax.
Yeah.
Sometimes, depending on your personal circumstances and so on. What would you say to that? Like, how come that's incorrect in this case, in your view? Is it mostly to do with the upcoming changes in energy? I've forgotten the right word is energy performance legislation, or is it something else?
No, I think some of it is people have talked. It's become a little bit more shouted about how they talk. Okay, the UK is fifth or sixth global economy, but
Mm,
actually, if you strip London out, we're quite a poor country. It's
sure.
London is a very rich economy. There's a lot of money flushing through, but that doesn't
Yeah.
flush out to the wider places.
Yeah.
And in particular, the northeast, where the property that I'm in the process of selling is. A, a lot of the bigger employers have gradually moved away, and
Yeah.
rent values are not. And when I've looked around, I mean, there's often the Property Hub podcast talk about the different sometimes which areas have got the best growing rents, and things oscillate round as parts of the regions catch up. But they're major cities, I think, particularly as you get a little more rural, or the other areas, and it's maybe not got, say, like the Lakes has a big holiday let industry that helps keep prices inflated.
Yeah.
I think there's lots of discrepancies in the UK where that point doesn't hold true anymore, because there
Mm,
isn't the work to drive the income to drive the property price increase. And
I
so,
see.
I mean, particularly this one, it's relatively stagnated. I mean, if the quality of the house it is, the size of it, the size of garden, if that was in Manchester, it would probably be a circa 800 grand property plus. It's nowhere near
Wow.
that in Northeast. Um, yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
and I've seen that, particularly I think the Northeast and the Cumbria side, a lot of the prices are quite deflated. And
Mm.
I don't see the bigger employees coming in there that drives the money.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
you
I really
get
like what you said on the more
national
general point about. Sorry, Anth. I really like what you said on the more general point about seasons. I think that's really smart. You know, there's like with farming, for example, there's a time to reap and a time to sow, a time to, have fallow seasons and this, that, and the other, and that definitely applies to people. And I think and what you feel like doing. I think planning for that in advance. Like, okay, for example, talking about the UK, literally summer is often a good time to really go at it. Let's go at it. Like a lot of energy, longer days. People generally happier. That might be a good time to buy some stuff or whatever. Whereas winter might be generally a great time to look at your finances and stay indoors and plan things ready to go again in the in the 1 month. Just as a sort of an overly simplified example. And of course, people can work it out for themselves. But having like 90-day, which is roughly a season, isn't it? Having 90-day ideas, goals, and strategies that are different, I found has helped me and helped a lot of people to be in tune with what people feel like doing and getting more done because you attend at different times to different parts of the business. If you're buying all the time, just like right, buy things, I'm more buying. Just got to get this. Well, hang on, what about the accounts? What about, as you say, the long-term planning? When's that happening? What about the building the teams? What about all the stuff that goes on around it? And so by moving your focus around, often on a sort of rotational basis, you can achieve things,
go
achieve
deeper.
more at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go deeper. And even the flip side, I can't remember where I picked it up, but I've actually bought all my properties in winter because the market's uh, comp-
down a bit.
yeah, yeah, and you can negotiate a lot better than you don't want to
Yeah.
be buying in like July or August when everything looks
Mm.
sexy, sun's shining, and all the families are out trying to buy. Great
Yeah.
time to sell, but I've actually swerved that, and it's definitely got me deals, and
Yeah.
that's yeah. So sometimes if you're aware of the seasons, you can flip it to your advantage as well.
Yeah.
Even if that's scheduling work that might be out of season, you get the labour without as much hassle. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the best deals we ever bought. We bought on December the 23rd. Which because to do that, you got to realize how desperate the person is to sell it. We were delighted when we bought it on December the 23rd, and it's turned out to be a great deal. Right, that's saying if we go much any longer, they'll stop being a Cortado and start being a proper recording. So I'd just like to say thank you very much to Mr. Antth. It's been a pleasure as always. Always some interesting ideas, left field stuff. Not left field. That's frankly disrespectful. Stuff that's maybe different from the kind of things other people talk about. Unique things, and I really enjoy that and enjoy listening to what you've got to say. And sometimes I even crazily enough agree with some of it. So thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, Tom. Thanks for having me on again.